Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome back to the show this week. It's a joy, as always, and it's Thanksgiving week right now, and with Thanksgiving coming and the rest of the holidays coming, no matter where you are in the world, whether you celebrate Thanksgiving like we do here in the United States, or you have your own version of giving thanks, a lot of conflict often happens when families gather together. And sometimes that conflict comes from, well, no, I'm supposed to be with you this holiday. No, I want to go with my other friends for the holiday, or the other half of the family. And conflict really, over this time period, through the end of the year, I have seen in my own life and friends' lives and clients' lives how much more stress is involved with it. And I'm so glad to say that Mari Frank, who was on a few weeks ago talking about negotiation, she is an attorney and has spent 33 years as a mediator helping people resolve conflict and finding the least annoying method to getting together along one path that everybody can live with. And she was going to come back on to talk about privacy, but we talked about it, and conflict resolution seemed like the best way to go. So, Mari Frank, thank you so much for coming back on and being willing to talk about this topic that impacts everybody at some point in their life.
Right. Thank you so much for inviting me back, Laura. It's such a thrill to be able to share some of these things, as I hope will be my legacy in my life, is to help people have more peace in their lives so they can enjoy their lives.
You know, it's really interesting because I just read an article for Vero's Voice magazine, and I didn't even connect the dots till just this moment. But I wrote an article about the apps I have on my phone to help bring calm, to help when you're getting all stressed out with the holidays. Those are the 6 apps that I use to kind of put myself back into a state of peace. But that doesn't always work for people. You can't just turn on an app and resolve conflict with family members or business partners or soon-to-be ex-family members. I don't know how you do it as a mediator, because I remember I was a facilitator after I got my master's degree in organizational behavior for Pitney Bowes for a number of years. And I remember saying, we can solve this if we all work together with a smile on my face. And then one day I thought I was going to explode because I just couldn't say that anymore. So how do you do this?
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought up about the apps that you do every morning. And I've been doing this for, since I'm 19 years old. I meditate. And so that helps me to ground myself, first of all, is because it's really, if you're not mindful, if you're not really centered yourself, it's really hard to be around other people who are acting in a very aggressive or hostile manner. So for me, how I do it is to first ground myself, and then before I go into any kind of conflict, whether it's with my spouse or with other people who I have a challenge with, or my clients, or all of these mediations, first of all, before I go in, I center myself, and I do that with some breathing exercises, with some visualization, and then I kind of imagine that there's this protective shield around me, a peaceful shield around me. And if I'm calm, it helps me to, no matter what, to be calm in the moment. I don't know if anybody has seen the new movie Neighborhood, with Tom Hanks, and it just reminded me of that. No matter how much he was attacked by the gentleman who was the journalist, he's just very, very calm, and that just changes everything. So for us to be around people like that, we first have to be calm, just like you were saying there, Laura. We first have to be calm, and then I have to remember that it's really, when it's other people's dispute, it's about them. It's like if you have an orange and you squeeze an orange, only orange juice comes out. also, if somebody is, raging, it's their own rage that's coming out. And you don't have to buy into it. Just because someone is screaming at you or yelling at you or disagreeing with you, you can be peaceful and know this is them. This is about that person. And that helps quite a bit. You don't have to take it personally. You don't have to be defensive. You can just listen and then calmly respond. And it only takes one person to stop a conflict. It only takes one person. So we each can be that person.
What you just said about it only takes one person to stop a conflict is, I've never really, if I looked at it, I don't think I ever consciously thought of it that way, that it takes one person to stop a conflict. I know I've tried to be that person in many different points in my life. I've had 2 divorces, and yet it sounds so much easier on the surface, because when you're in the middle of it, say in the middle of a divorce, or you're at a family dinner and one person's political views are different than another, or even on social media, Mari. I mean, the stuff that I watch people just get triggered on.
Right.
What would you say to somebody? What question would you say to them to help them while they're feeling like they're attacked, when this person is spewing their own stuff, to be able to step back? Because it seems like it's simple, but it's so personal for people.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge because our brain is wired in such a way that we automatically, it's an automatic reaction. If someone attacks you, automatically our primitive brain, our amygdala, which are these 2 little almond-shaped organs in our brain, immediately react, and it's the fight, flight, or freeze response. So we have to take a break there as soon as we feel that, because it's automatic. We don't have any choice about getting angry. We have a choice about how we are going to respond to it. Are we going to automatically react, or are we going to respond? And so the question to ask is of ourselves rather than the other person first. How do I want to respond? I ask myself, how do I want to respond? And then I take a breath, and my response is always going to be something like, tell me more, or I might even say, gee, that hurts, or gee, I'm surprised by that statement. Help me understand what you mean. So I will answer that. How do I wish to respond? By I wish to respond calmly. I wish to respond calmly. I don't want to react in a knee-jerk reaction. And it takes practice. It takes mindfulness. It takes being conscious. And so often we react. I was listening to Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief, and he is just amazing. And he talks about 95% of what we do in our lives is basically from our unconscious. Only 5% is from our conscious mind. That means we are responding to things that happened to us when we were 7 years old or 6 years old or earlier. So we have to stop and say, what is happening right now? How do I want to respond right now? Not the way I responded when I was 6 years old, or even when I was with my ex-spouse, or anything. How do I want to respond? Just that question, is so helpful, because I remember when I went through my own divorce, it was heated. There was a lot of anger in there by both of us, and he would yell at me, and at first I would yell back. And then I said to myself, wait a minute, I don't want to do this. That's exactly what he wants me to do. He wants me to engage. And I don't want to engage, because then I'm going to feel crummy afterwards.
Okay, now thinking about that, Mari, that, that other person wants you to engage. What if while you're going through this conflict, this person's yelling, screaming, getting angry, like their body language is moving in towards you even more. If they're in person with you, the things seem to be escalating. No matter what you're doing with calm and how you're responding versus reacting, what if that doesn't stop that person from being in that? Is it okay to walk away?
Yeah, that's a really good question, yes. Because if they're so worked up and they're in that, remember, the brain, they're in that amygdala, they're in that fight mode, and they can't relax, they can't get calm to get back into their frontal lobes, which is their logical mind, their executive functioning. So it's a brain issue. If they're like that, remove yourself. Yes, remove yourself. So you say, I'd really like to talk to you about this, but I think everything's really hot right now. Let's take a break. Don't blame them and say, you're just nuts right now. I can't speak with you. That's only going to make it worse, and they might get, physical or something. So you just say, this isn't working for us right now. Let's take a break and come back when we can both be calm. Let's make a time to do that. Yes, you must remove yourself, because if you are staying calm or if you feel you're going to lose it, right. If I feel I'm going to lose it because something was so intense and hit me right to the core, and I know to stop and be calm, but I feel like it's just not working for me. Maybe I'm sick, maybe I'm tired, whatever it is, I'm just going to say, this is not working right now. Let's just take a break and make a time to get back together and discuss this.
Okay, and what if a person says no and just keeps following you and won't let you get there?
You need to leave because they're already in the aggressive mode. You need to remove yourself because it could be dangerous. Yes, remove yourself.
Okay, so there are times.
There's times that it's not the right time to do it. I saw something really funny on the internet that said, if you for this Thanksgiving, if you talk politics or religion, talk politics or religion if you want to buy fewer Christmas gifts. I thought that was so funny. So when you were talking about Thanksgiving, this should be a time of giving and receiving and having fun and relating in a nice way. Do not bring up something that is a hot button. And if somebody does say, "Hey, let's make this really fun. Let's tell a story or let's play a game." A mind game or something. What do you think? Ever go around the room? What is everybody thankful for? Stop it before it starts. Or if somebody wants to say about the cousin that didn't come and start gossiping about that, or did you hear this about whatever, or he's a drunk or whatever, just, again, you be the one to say, hey, let's have fun this time. Let's everybody start with, what are you thankful for? I'm going to say, I'm thankful for this great food. Thank you for inviting us. And then say, okay, next person, what are you thankful for? And just immediately change the subject.
There always seems to be at holiday gatherings, whether it's a company Christmas party or it's just a family gathering, something like that, the one person that always just likes to stir up conflict or maybe drinks too much and another side of their personality comes out.
Right.
How do you suggest somebody handle that kind of situation? Is it a preventive situation to speak to them beforehand, and how would you even approach that? Is it because maybe you can't not invite that person that is always trying to drive up conflict?
Well, one thing you could do if you're having a Christmas party or a holiday party for business, what I used to do is just say we're not going to have alcohol. We're just not going to have alcohol. We're going to have great food. We're going to have fun. We're going to do improv. We're going to do this. Just don't have alcohol. If you know that this has happened in the past, don't have alcohol. Or just have, wine or whatever. That's one thing. Yeah, you have to think ahead of time. You have to be strategic about how you're going to do it. And, and you have to maybe send out ahead of time what's going to be on the agenda. Like, this holiday party, please, no one talk politics, no one talk religion, just ask people to do that and just plan it so that there isn't a problem. I know I'm having a holiday party for a bunch of people for my church that we're going to be doing fun, and we're going to be doing improv.
Improv at your church holiday party? I love that.
Yeah. Well, it's a group that I run, a facilitative group, a spiritual group. And so we're going to have a potluck, and we're going to do improv before we do some of the other things that we're planning. And so plan it really well to avoid those type of things. It's, you were talking about being preventive. Be preventive.
Okay, so you've done everything you can to be preventive.
Right.
You have a holiday party that you decided, say, you don't want to limit alcohol, or you're at a place where that's not a possibility. You're an attendee at an event, and somebody's had too much to drink, they're getting aggressive, or they're stepping over the line, whether it's sexual stepping over the line or it's an angry stepping over the line. You can't leave for whatever reason. Maybe it's your house, and you can't leave. How do you handle that? What would you suggest?
Well, if it's your own party or your own house, then you need to bring that person into a different room and talk to them about it. And just say, hey, this is what's going on. We really appreciate your being here. We want to have fun. Let's switch gears and see if they can do that. If not, see if you can get somebody to take them home or call an Uber or a cab or something. That actually happened to me. I had to take away keys from somebody at a party that I had, and it was not easy, and she got very angry at me, but I wanted to save her life. So I think you have to talk to them. Or if it's a party when you're the boss, then you have to talk to somebody. Let's say you're at a restaurant. You have to talk to somebody. Or, if it gets really out of hand, you have to have several people, they're good friends, talk to them. If that doesn't work, you call the police. You just take it in steps, baby steps, to first try and talk to that person. It's hard to deal with somebody who's been drinking because they can't even get to that stage where they're going to understand what's going on. I've been with people like that, and you cannot reason with somebody who's drunk. It's very difficult to do. So you just have to get them home or get them into an Uber or whatever it is that you can deal with them. But I want to share, you know how I am with acronyms.
Yeah, before you share that, though, I just want to talk about this a little bit more because of time frame. I know we won't be able to get into your acronym before we go into national news. But I had a thought on what you were just talking about, Mari, with the parties and everything. I have some friends that cannot handle conflict whatsoever. It's like they collapse at the thought of somebody is getting, they get scared, okay? They just literally cannot handle conflict of any kind. They will accept whatever people say just because the thought of conflict literally makes them shake in their boots.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often been brought in to handle the conflict for them, even though I don't like handling conflict, but I'd rather handle it than not handle it.
Right.
What do you think about somebody if they're having a party, or even if it's a family gathering, right, that you're hosting or you're going to, setting it up that, okay, this person is the conflict resolver or the mediator, and getting a friend or a family member on board before something that would help you handle those things?
Well, I think it's a great idea. The challenge is, what if it's somebody getting into a conflict that they, it's too close to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can have a backup. And everybody in a family knows who's the peacemaker. Everybody knows that,
Right.
So you can kind of say, hey, you're the peacemaker, go in and talk to them. It has to be somebody that they respect. If somebody starts talking politics and they start screaming at everybody else that, you don't know what you're talking about, and that person does not respect the person who's the peacemaker, it's not going to work. So it has to be someone that is respected so that they will be heard. And again, the challenge is when you're in that amygdala, when you're responding from that fight, flight, or freeze, you have to do something to get them out of that place, okay? So whatever it is, to change the subject, get them calm, and then move on. So that's the issue, is that it is a brain issue. It is a physical issue that's going on. And all the talk in the world, if they're out of their mind at that point, it's not going to work until you get them calm. That's why I was ready to go on my acronym, because that deals with the amygdala going on. So
okay.
If you're ready, I'd like to share that.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, Mari, it's the conflict is not an overt conflict. And I guess I must not have turned off call waiting on my phone. I apologize, everybody. Still calling in because of my ear issue. Sometimes I've seen the conflict coming as, it's coming from a calm place. It's almost like a narcissistic, well, I'm always going to be right, and you can see the smirkness coming from them. They're not yelling. They're not angry. They seem very controlled in their wanting to drive conflict. Have you seen that in your media?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Kind of an arrogant approach.
Right. Is
I'm
that
right.
still?
No matter what you say, I'm right. Well, okay, so do I have to prove that they're wrong? No, I don't really. I'm never going to prove that someone that is like that is wrong. They're not ready to listen anyway, because no matter what, they're going to be right. And so at that point, if I'm at a holiday party, I'm just going to go talk to somebody else. It's not worth my energy. It's like on the internet. If I post something and someone starts arguing with me, I go, oh, that's an interesting perspective. I see it differently, and move on. Do we want to, in our short lifetime, especially when we're with family or friends for a holiday and we want to be thankful, don't engage. If they would rather be right than happy, okay, be right but not happy. Just remove yourself and don't get angry about it. It's not worth it, right?
Right. All right.
That's
I love that. I think it's important, before we talk about your tips for how to convert conflict into collaboration, going even deeper with your acronyms, which I totally love, is to understand that conflict does not always appear as anger or forcefulness or whatever in relation to how we're dealing with this. Sometimes it comes from somebody being arrogant, but in a very quiet way, keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing their point. I know my friend is going through a horrible divorce going through this. So now that we understand that conflict can come in many different ways, everybody, when we come back from the national news brief, we are going to be here continuing with the amazing Mari Frank, expert on conflict resolution, negotiation, and more things that we can cover in multiple shows. So, Mari, when we come back, you're going to share your conflict about what can work in any kind of conflict, right?
Yeah.
Awesome, everybody. We'll be right back with more of It's All About the Questions right after the national news. Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the first half, boy, you missed so much great information on how to resolve conflict, potentially stop conflict in its tracks, and to move past conflict. And we're going to keep continuing with that topic with my guest, who I had to have back on the show, even though she was just on here a few weeks ago talking about negotiation. I've got Mari Frank on the show back with us. And Mari, you just always share such powerful, powerful questions we need to ask ourselves with your topic and with life. And I loved what you talked about in the first half. You said it only takes one person to stop a conflict. And what we should always do when we're in a conflict is ask ourselves, before we do or say anything, how do I wish to respond? I love that. And now you have one of your famous acronyms you're going to share with us on how to convert conflict into collaboration. So does it work in any conflict, and what is it?
Yes, it does. But before, I just want to say, for those of you who are listening, conflict is inevitable, right? I just want to say that first. That conflict is going to happen in your life many, 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 many times. Conflict is a divergence of perspective. So I will have conflict with my husband. That doesn't mean I have combat. So conflict is inevitable. Combat is avoidable. So I don't have to get into a fight just because we have conflict. And I think that's the most important thing to remember. It's okay. You don't have to be afraid of conflict. Welcome it as an opportunity to engage in greater understanding. Look at it as a gift in disguise. Okay, now let me give you the how to transform. Okay, my acronym is H.A.R.D. Love. H.A.R.D. Love. It's hard to love somebody when you're in conflict. So It's an easy way to remember it. For me, I have to have something, an acronym, to remember all these things that I do. So it helps my clients and it helps my audiences too. Okay, so when you're in conflict, somebody comes in, just attacks you or accuses you or whatever it is, and you got conflict there, you're upset. The first thing you do is halt. Don't do or say anything until you stop and say to yourself, what you just mentioned a few minutes ago, how do I want to respond? That should be automatic. Stop. Just see a big stop sign, halt. Okay, or somebody's hand up there, halt. The second thing you do is A for anger control. And what I mean by that is you can't stop the anger that just swells up in you. It's an automatic emotion, and it's okay. Anger is a signal. It's like an alarm going off. Uh-oh. Something is going on that I have to be protective of. Okay, so anger is your ally. It just tells you, watch it, there's some kind of danger here. So, anger control. And I'm going to tell you how I do the anger control. So for me, if somebody says something that really gets me, it's like a knife in my solar plexus.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, right? So I first feel it. I let my attention go to where I'm feeling it in my body. You're going to feel it like a solar plexus, or people get tight in the shoulders, or they get a back pain, or their face gets red, they feel heat. I have talked with so many of my students about how they respond. It can be anything, but it is a physical response. It always is. So feel that. That's the beginning of your anger control, is to feel where you feel it in your body. As soon as you take that mental assessment of your body and feel where it is, that automatically helps you to relieve it. Okay?
All right, that's interesting because Dr. Joan Rosenberg has been a guest on my show several times, and she wrote a book called 90 Seconds to a Life You Love. And one of the things that she tells you is if you're feeling an emotion, let it wash through you for 90 seconds because that takes the charge off of it.
Right. That's very similar, but you don't even have to do it for 90 seconds, because I've been doing this for a long time. For me, I don't have to do it 90 seconds. All I have to do is take this I have to focus on what's going on in my body.
Got it.
I have to literally focus on it. And as soon as I focus on it, I can breathe into it. And that could take me maybe 2 or 3 seconds, okay, just to do that.
And the R?
The R is reverse the negative reaction. Okay, this is what I do. All right, when I feel that knife in the solar plexus, I take a breath, and then I take the knife out. I literally, in 1 second, just visualize I'm taking that knife out. So every time I get angry, that's where I feel it. And if anyone listening here, if you pay attention, you're always going to feel it in the same part of your body. So if you feel tightness in your shoulders, just imagine something soothing your shoulder, whether it's a quick massage or whether if your face is hot, just imagine cool water on it. Actually reverse that physical reaction with whatever you know to do. So in other words, you don't have to do it in that time. Think about something that gets you real angry. Feel your body right now as you're listening to this show. And if it's in your stomach, if it's in your shoulders, if it's in your back, if it's in your head, feel it. Think of something that got you real mad, feel it, and now think of something to reverse it. So that the next time this happens, you've got a strategy. Okay?
All right, that's brilliant. That's whether it's conflict or anything, it doesn't matter. We all get those feelings, whether it's anxiety, whatever it may be. I've learned with my ear that when it starts happening and I get triggered, I picture myself in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon with the hyperspace throttle, and I'm turning it down.
Beautiful. That's exactly the idea. Is to have something ready that you know you're going to do.
Okay, and G.
And that way it'll only take 1 or 2 seconds. Okay?
Got it.
And D is disengage. Look at the person, and if they look really angry, just disengage, meaning just breathe into calmness. Just be calm. Don't react. Don't even respond yet. Just listen. Okay? That's the disengage.
Okay.
Is to disengage is don't allow that anger to go anywhere. All right?
Okay.
The next thing leads into, in other words, release being defensive. That's probably the better way to say it. Just be release being defensive. And again, for me, I always think, okay, this is their stuff, not mine. It's their stuff, not mine. That helps me to not be defensive. All right.
So that's the hard.
Yes, it is. But it's practice. It's like, the first time you drove a car and you had to do something, you had to focus on your foot and focus on your the number, putting your hands in a 3 o'clock position or whatever.
Right.
It was a lot. It's a practice. It's a skill that I'm showing you.
Right.
All right.
So
L stands
love?
for listen actively. Okay. What does that mean? That means that you're not listening, that you're ready to respond, like you're thinking, oh, well, he's wrong. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. Just listen calmly, because listening calmly gives you information that is power. How information is power. It helps you to respond, okay? But you want to listen actively when you're in conflict so that you can do the next thing, which is openly mirror, okay? So, in other words, if someone says to me, well, you didn't invite them to the party, and, they're mad about that, let's say. So I would say, oh, I hear that you're concerned that, Steve was not invited to the party. Is that correct? So I am going to mirror back what they say in a nice, calm way. If they use profanity, I'm not going to, use that profanity. I'm going to reframe it just in the nicest way possible. I heard you say that you're concerned that I didn't invite your cousin, or that your cousin isn't here. Is that correct? And then they say, yeah, I'm upset. Why didn't you do that? You should have done that. And then you can respond, well, thank you, for telling me about your concerns. This is what happened. This is, whatever it is. Then you can calmly respond. If they again come at you, well, that's no good excuse. You can say, I hear you saying that you're not comfortable with the way I handled it. I apologize that you were not comfortable. This is the decision that I had to make given the circumstances.
Okay.
So again, you hear what they say, you keep responding with mirroring what they said. After that, you could do the questions, the open-ended questions. How do you think I should have done that? Or how would you have done it differently? Or how can I do something that would make you feel more comfortable right now? Or how can we do this differently in the future? So that you open it up to get them engaged in problem solving, or what I've talked about last time I was on the show, which is what I call solutioneering. Let's look for solutions.
All right. What if, though, with that, it actually just revs the person up more, right? Because what they really want to do is just make you wrong.
Well, then you could just say, I hear what you say, and if I offended you in any way by what I did, then I apologize. It doesn't mean you're apologizing for what you did. You're apologizing for how they felt. Okay? So that is another way to just de-escalate it.
Okay. The next letter?
Then, so we've done H for halt, meaning just don't say anything, don't do anything, just breathe. A, anger control. Feel it. Where is it? In your solar plexus, in your shoulders, whatever. R, reverse the negative reaction, just like you were saying. What you do, you go into a hyper chamber or whatever it is. For me, I pull out the knife. D, disengage. That means that I don't say anything. I don't get defensive. I remember at that point, it's about them. It's not about me. Okay? It's not about me getting defensive. L, this is the most important one. Listen actively, because when I listen to somebody, I am acknowledging them as a human being. I'm legitimizing them as a person. I'm giving them respect. So active listening and just being there calmly totally transforms a situation. And I have a whole course on how to listen actively, but this is the short one. Okay, openly mirror. You mirror back what they say, but you reframe anything that was profane. V, we talk about voicing open-ended questions. E is embrace solutions. Okay? And I just add another one, which is if they are out of their minds, if they just are so worked up, then you want to leave with dignity. Leave with dignity. Just if none of that works, which there are times when somebody's so out of control, or they've been drinking, or they're on some drugs or whatever it is, or they're tired and they're just out of it, then just exit or leave. And
so
again,
E is
you can
embrace
do it in that way, in the nicest way possible, whether you're on the phone and you say, this isn't working, I'm going to need to get off the phone, let's talk later, or you need to leave the room, or you need to leave the party. Whatever it is, you remove yourself if they cannot. If what you're doing doesn't work at that moment, then you need to cut it off to protect yourself.
Are there ever situations you've seen or know of where there just is no resolving the conflict? There's no way to resolve it?
Yes, of course, and that's why people go into lawsuits, where both parties would rather be right than happy until they use up all their money, for example. They have to be right. And if two parties have to be right, okay, and they are not willing to look at the underlying interests of each party, then, they either no longer be friends, okay, if it was a friendship and they just have this thing that beyond, one party or the other refuses to be engaged, then, okay, let it go. It's not meant to be. That relationship is no longer meant to be. If they're not, both parties have to be willing to find a solution. There is a solution sitting in every conflict. That I know. But if both parties or if all the parties aren't willing to do that, then you end up in what I call, war. And it could be war meaning you don't want to be friends anymore, or you have a lawsuit, or you just end it that way. Sometimes you need to do that. To me, at my age and what I've been doing all these years, I know there are solutions to every problem. There are solutions to every conflict. However, the parties have to be willing to look at it and to be willing to engage in it. And some people would rather be right than happy. And you can't do anything about that.
And that's a hard one for a lot of people, especially those that are peacemakers, to accept that sometimes you just can't resolve it because the other party is unwilling, and you just have to let it go and walk away.
Right. And you can walk away with dignity. You can. You can say, I appreciate how you're feeling, and whether or not you appreciate how I'm feeling, that's okay. I have to do what's right for me. You have to do what's right for you. That's how relationships end. It should end in a way where, we learned from each other. If it's a divorce, for example, in my book, Fighting for Love, Turn Conflict into Intimacy, the first 11 chapters are about how to really have a loving relationship. But our last chapter that we wrote was sometimes it's not meant to be anymore. But you can walk away with dignity. You can recognize, wow, this is what I learned from you, and this is what you learned from me. And we can just be appreciative of each other for the time that we had together. And so this is about a growth opportunity. No matter what, everything in our lives, the way I feel about things, is everything in our lives is a lesson, is an opportunity to grow. Sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's not so fun, but that's life, right? And
it
you
is.
will have conflict. You will have conflict many times during the week. It doesn't have to be a combat.
Yeah, as you were talking about that, I was just thinking back on my second divorce and how he cut me out of his life as if I had the plague or something. And I never really felt like I got closure around the conflict.
Right. And
what would be your suggestion for somebody that there's a conflict that you need to walk away, you need to leave with dignity, whatever way you can, but yet there's that feeling inside of you that you just want one more chance to say to that person, you hurt me so badly, and what you were saying made no sense, but in their mind, obviously, it made sense.
Right. I had something similar happen to me with a friend that I'd been best friends since I was really 4 years old, if you can imagine that. And we're talking about for, I don't even want to tell you how many years, but, decades and decades and decades. And her father, she lived far away, but we were always really close. We'd come to see each other. I'd go to Chicago. She'd come to California. She moved to Arizona. I went to Arizona. This was a friendship for many, 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 many years. And when my mother died, she was on vacation. She said, should I come in? I go, no, you don't have to do that. And I wasn't mad or anything. And her dad died, and I said, he was much older. He was already in his 90s. And I said, would you like me to come in? I'm happy to come in. And she said, oh, no, it's too much going on, and I have, I have that. And so what ended up happening is afterwards she said, you missed my speech. I said, oh, send it to me. And she said, you didn't come in. And she literally told me not to come in, but she really wanted me to come in. And she wasn't being honest. And believe it or not, that cut off that relationship no matter what I said. She said I was selfish. She said I was insensitive, da-da-da-da-da. And we are no longer friends. And I have written her, and I've told her that I sent her a little, I always text her on her birthday, and I say, hope you and your family are wonderful, and I write something sweet. And I never hear back from her, although last year I did get a thank you. But it was like, okay, I have to let it go. I can only do so much. And then I'm sad about that. This is like, so many years of really good friends. I don't know how else I couldn't do anything about it. So I let it go. I send her love. I send her good things. I talk to her daughters on Facebook. One of them just had a birthday. I just sent a happy birthday. Love you. Love to your family. I just have to let it go. Yes, there's that pain inside, but then I question this is all about the questions, right? I ask myself, what is this in me that has to resolve this? What is it in me that has this pain? What does it remind me of that I need to resolve within myself? I can let go and send love and just say, this is the way. I can't change the other person. I can only change myself. What do I need to do to be okay and move on?
Oh, I love that.
All about the question, right?
Right. Let's say that one more time. What do I need to do? Go ahead, say it one more time.
Or what do I need to ask myself? Or what, there's a lot of questions. It's not just one. What is it in me that can't let go of this? What does this remind me of the past that I have to heal, that I can't let go? How can I let go? And sometimes I just say, God, how can I let go of this? Because this is not healthy for me. And how can I just send love across the airways, And I do that on her birthday, on holidays. I just said, I just send this to you. Just send you this love. And after many years of her not saying anything, the last time I sent her a birthday greeting, she said, thank you. Hope you're fine too. It was like,
maybe you need to send her the recording of this show, Mari. Tell her to listen to the last 7 minutes of the show, and
I have to let go. I have to let go, and I believe that everything is energy. So if I'm sending loving energy or healing energy to someone, I believe it gets there.
Okay, and
I let go.
I hate to cut you off on that thought, but we're starting to run out of time. I want to make sure you can tell everybody about your webinar and negotiation coming up and how they reach you, and you've got 1 minute to do that.
Okay, so if you'd like to be part of a free webinar on how to negotiate anything, really, and be successful, just write an email to office@marifrank.com. It's coming up a week from Friday, December 6th, 12 o'clock Pacific time, and then Eastern time would be 3 o'clock, 1 hour. You just come in by Zoom. We'll tell you how to do it. It's going to be fun, and you're going to engage with me. You can also go to marifrank.com and listen, go and see what we've got going on. And then my radio show, Fighting for Love Turned Conflict into Collaboration, just search that, and you can listen to archived interviews, and you can listen to my wonderful 2 interviews that I've done with Laura Stewart, who is amazing.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody, Mari also has a book, Fighting for Love, Turn Conflict into Intimacy. Mari, thanks for being on the show again today. You have such brilliant wisdom and great questions.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. And everybody, remember, the right questions can change your life. So what are you asking today? Give thanks today and always. It doesn't need Thanksgiving for you to thank those that you love. Hug someone you love for me, and have a great day.
You've been listening to It's All About the Questions, starring Laura Stewart. Connect with Laura at it'sallaboutthequestions.com and download a free workbook that will help you ask better questions starting today.